The night wind swept across the endless plains, carrying with it the whisper of the dying campfires and the cry of a lone coyote somewhere beyond the ridge. The year was 1874, and in a forgotten corner of Arizona, a small wooden cabin stood under a blanket of stars. Inside that cabin lived Eli Turner, a quiet, shy farmer who had spent most of his 30 years in solitude. He was a man of few words, a man whose hands spoke louder than his tongue ever could. The townsfolk often called him the Ghost Farmer because he rarely came into town except to trade, grain or repair tools. But that night, everything in his quiet world was about to change. It began with a faint knock, 3 soft raps on the wooden door. Eli froze, his hand halfway to the lantern. No one ever came to his cabin after sunset. His heart beat faster as the knocks came again, more urgent this time. He lifted the latch, the door creaking open, and what he saw made him step back in shock. A woman stood before him, tall, proud, and fierce even in her weakness. Her long, raven-black hair clung to her shoulders, her skin bronze under the flickering lamplight. But her eyes were wild, full of pain and defiance. She was Apache. She stumbled forward, clutching her side where blood darkened her deerskin dress. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling but strong. They shot me. I need shelter." Eli, though frightened, couldn't turn her away. His instinct for kindness outweighed his fear. He pulled her inside, locked the door, and guided her to his bed. The wound wasn't fatal, but she had lost a lot of blood. Eli worked through the night, cleaning the cut, boiling water, wrapping her in blankets. He didn't ask who they were. Out here, questions could get a man killed. By morning, she was still alive. Her breathing had steadied, and when she opened her eyes, the dawn light revealed her beauty fully, strong features, proud cheekbones, and a gaze that could cut through stone. "You saved me," she said softly. "I am Tala." Eli nodded awkwardly. "You're safe here," he replied. That was all he could manage. Words had never been his strength. Days passed and she healed under his care. The silence between them grew into an unspoken bond. Eli learned she had escaped from soldiers who attacked her village. She had lost her husband, her people scattered. There was grief in her eyes, but also fire, a refusal to be broken. She helped him with chores, tended to his fields, and little by little, the lonely cabin began to feel alive again. For the first time in years, Eli found himself smiling. One evening, as the sun sank into a sea of orange and gold, they sat outside watching the fields sway in the breeze. The air was warm, peaceful. That's when Tala spoke words that would change everything. She turned to him, her voice steady, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "I want a child from you, Eli." The words struck him like a thunderclap. He nearly dropped the cup in his hands. What did you say?" he stammered. Tala looked at him, her face unreadable. "A child," she repeated. "A life to continue my people's spirit. My bloodline must not end. You are a good man, kind, pure, I see it in your heart. I want your child." Eli's face flushed red. He looked away, unable to meet her gaze. "Tala, I can't," he said quietly. "I ain't never been with a woman before. I'm not the kind of man you think I am." She smiled faintly. "That's why I chose you." Her words echoed in his chest for days. He couldn't sleep, couldn't think straight. She wasn't asking out of desire, it was something deeper. A plea from a broken soul, trying to plant hope in barren soil. Yet Eli's shyness chained him. He was terrified, not of her, but of himself. He had lived a life of silence, a man buried under his own fears. And now, for the first time, someone saw something worthy in him. Over the following week, their connection deepened. Tala shared stories of her tribe, the songs of birth, the dances of rain, the pride of warriors who lived by the wind. Eli listened, mesmerized. He showed her how to plant corn, how to milk a cow, how to mend fences. They were 2 wounded spirits from different worlds, but in the quiet rhythms of daily life, their souls found harmony. One night a storm rolled in. The rain lashed against the cabin, thunder shaking the earth. Tala stood by the window, her hair wild in the lantern light. "You fear love, don't you?" she said softly. Eli swallowed. "I don't know what love is," he admitted. She walked to him, slow and certain. "Love is not weakness. It's courage." The courage to give without, knowing if you'll be remembered. Her hand touched his chest, where his heart pounded like a drum. You have that courage, Eli Turner. Something broke inside him then, the walls of fear, of loneliness. He took her hand, trembling. The storm outside raged as their hearts found shelter in each other. That night, the shy farmer and the Apache woman became one under the thunder and the rain. Weeks turned into months. The crops grew tall, and so did their bond. Tala's laughter filled the air again, and Eli found purpose in every sunrise. Then one morning, as he returned from the fields, she met him at the door with tears in her eyes, but this time they were tears of joy. "Eli," she said, placing his hand over her belly, "there is life here." His heart nearly stopped. He didn't speak, he simply held her close, his eyes wet with disbelief. But peace never lasts long on the frontier. One evening, dust rose in the distance. Riders, soldiers. Eli's pulse quickened. Tala's past had finally caught up to her. "You must hide," he said, but she shook her head. "If they find you protecting me, they'll hang you. I won't let that happen." Before he could stop her, she slipped out the back, disappearing into the dusk. The soldiers stormed in minutes later, searching, demanding answers. Eli said nothing. His silence was his shield. They beat him, burned his barn, and rode off empty-handed. When he regained consciousness, the world was smoke and ashes. Tala was gone. For months, Eli searched the canyons and plains, calling her name, but she had vanished like a dream. The winter that followed was the loneliest of his life. Yet deep inside, he held on to the warmth she left behind, the promise of life growing in her womb. Years later, on a spring morning, as Eli tended to his field, a figure appeared at the edge of his land, a young boy, no older than 5, with dark hair and eyes that mirrored the Apache woman's fire. Beside him stood a weary traveler, an old friend of Tala's tribe. "She wanted you to have him," the man said softly. "She died protecting him. And you." Eli's legs gave out. The boy ran to him, clutching his hand. Eli lifted him into his arms, tears streaming down his weathered face. "You're home now," he whispered. "You're where you belong." From that day forward, the shy farmer was shy no more. He raised the boy as his own, teaching him both the ways of the land and the stories of his mother's people. The cabin, once filled with silence, now echoed with laughter. The laughter of hope reborn. And every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Eli would look to the sky and whisper, "Tala, I kept your promise." Moral: love has no boundaries, no color, no tribe. It's the quiet courage to build something eternal out of loss.